Years ago, the Southern Poverty Law Center bankrupted the Klan and later recovered millions from neo-Nazi groups, with lawsuits representing victims of violence. But Tuesday, the tables turned. The Justice Department charged the organization with fraud for allegedly misleading donors and lying to financial institutions by paying members of violent extremist groups millions of dollars to act as informants.
The SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred.
Including, the indictment alleges, a leader of the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, who, quote, attended the event at the direction of SPLC, made racist postings under the supervision of the SPLC, and helped coordinate transportation to the event for several attendees.
All right, F-37 appears is not a jet. It is an undercover informant paid off by the SPLC. And somebody in our audience on X, and I encourage people to follow us on X if you ever want to share. I do pay attention here. As Sam Mandel asked if we're going to get a chance to cover this tweet, and lo and behold, the late Scott Adams in March 8th, 2023 said, what are the odds those tiki torch carrying neo-Nazis from Charlottesville would only rally once? Feels like it was an American intel op against Trump. That's my working assumption, and he's not far off.
Yeah, no, most of us talked about it at the time. It was a preposterous situation. The tiki torches, I said it at the same time. Where do they live? Where do they go? Where are they now? Where's their headquarters? I've been saying this for years. Where is the Klan headquarters? Why can't we go to their offices and go visit them? Because they don't fucking exist. And he was onto it too, the late Scott Adams, as were a number of other people. But the reality of it is, this is kind of minimizing it by CBS, because the paid informant storyline is what they'd like to spin this to become. It is not a paid informant storyline. You don't have to pay a paid informant $1.5 million to do something. You're paying a paid informant $1.5 million as a leader to spread around the money to gather up guys to go do this shit. I wish I could write the fucking news, because I would straighten this story out in 5 seconds. The idea that you're paying informants, you pay an informant 50 grand, right, Eric? You get an FBI and
not even that. It might be a couple $100 for a tip for a crackhead, or whatever.
Completely maligning this story and muddling it intentionally, despite the revelation that at CBS News coming out with it, there's still incredible anti-revolutionary forces within CBS News that are fighting back. One of them just left. Gayle King's right-hand hatchet woman has now left to cover elections for MS. And I don't mean multiple sclerosis. So she's now departed. Gayle King's right-hand black woman has gone over to the other, the darker, deeper leftist side. But getting back to this story,
more leftist side,
more leftist side, right?
Yet.
Well, it's a CBS morning show. I mean, how far left is a morning show? But anyway, this woman wants to be involved in the midterms, so they hired her out of there. But to get back to this story, we saw this coming for years. People on the left and people who were leaving the left and people who have come over to the right, that Morris Dees had gone off the rails many, many years ago and had begun, as Lenny Bruce said in Thank You, Masked Man, which I highly recommend, when the Lone Ranger ran out of crime, he had to make trouble. And that's the essence of what happened to Morris Dees. I recommend you see John Magnuson's animated short film called Thank You, Masked Man, with the voice of Lenny Bruce, talking about this exact situation, which has now come to pass, where they've run out of racism, they've run out of stuff that they now have to create it, which is in essence what Morris Dees and these underlings, after he has left, have been doing, including this Wang chick, who was one of the top muckrakers.
Can I point out that it hasn't been years, it's actually been decades. And I've been looking at SPLC for a while. I haven't been feeling well for a couple of days, but I've been talking to different sources, and This ties in directly to Oklahoma City bombing. And SPLC was running informants in Elohim City along with ATF and FBI. I mean, this is back in 1994 and prior. So, they had more going on even then. And keep in mind that as long as they keep funding it, there will always be people carrying tiki torches as long as they provide them motivation.
Right. I completely agree with you. But to get into the actual weeds, the actual mechanics of what they're doing, they are actually physically taking a guy to go get other guys to spread money around as a type of USAID operation, Cola Revolution, domestically. That's what they're doing. There are all sorts of things you and I pointed out and laughed about for the past 3 years, where these vans would pull up and these patriots would get out. Not just the tiki torch guys in Charlottesville. You and I have seen this possibly 15 times, maybe 25 times, where these guys get out of these vans, parade around, get back in the vans, and disappear. And everybody snickers. The people on the left say, look, it's the opposite of Antifa. It's their patriotic front people. Nobody ever knew who these people were. Nobody ever bothered to see where their office was. This is where Southern Poverty Law Center money was going to create something to justify their existence, Eric. That building that they have down there in Alabama is the craziest building I've ever seen for an NGO in my life. They must have spent $25 million building a building, and all around Montgomery, and we've been down there, there's hundreds of empty industrial office buildings that could have been used by SPLC. They chose to build some gigantic, brutalist structure for them to live in and party in Montgomery, Alabama. Again, it's an insane story. If
you're a communist, you need a brutalist architecture. Isn't that mandatory?
Right. Now, let's take a look at the lawsuit itself, because I don't think it's going to go anywhere. This particular lawsuit, the best that could happen would be that they get defunded and they sue them into some sort of oblivion, and they spin it out into SPLC 2. The thing that's missing in the lawsuit, in case anybody hasn't taken a look at it, but I have, are actual names of human beings on the planet Earth. This is a suit against a nonprofit organization without any co-conspirators named in it, anybody in charge of it, anybody doing it, or anything else. This is an extremely broad lawsuit against an NGO. Good luck with that one.
They got the fake bank accounts. They'll get a little bit on that.
Right. I agree. There's wire fraud, there's some mail fraud, there's some bank fraud. But who did it? Who did it? Who is the person? There's no names. There's no Jeff Jones. There's no Bill Ayers. There's no Bernadine Dorn. There's no Morris Dees. So where does this go? Other than attempting to bankrupt the organization, which I'm not opposed to. I'm not opposed to it at all.
Well, the exposure, I think, is good, because this is one of those, and I argued with Nate about it a while, just getting it out there. Now it's finally mainstream that, oh, you mean there's people actually paying? Yes, you and I have known it forever, and other people have known it forever, and they have bragged about it. To their credit, in their circles, when they're raising money, they have bragged about, we've paid off every informant for every extremist group you can imagine. However, the general public hasn't really heard it. And I think that getting out there in the mainstream and the exposure does have some value, even if people don't get locked up per se.
Right. They are, again, for the 900th time, vehemently opposed to locking any person up. The number one name, it's their fucking Achilles heel. For reasons that you and I can't understand, they have an massive adverse situation towards locking people up. Where is the name, and I don't even know who the name is, of the CEO of the Southern Poverty Law Center? Why isn't her name on the top of that indictment? Please, somebody answer that for me, because they seem to have an adversity to naming actual people to go to fucking jail, Eric.
Yeah, and they'll probably just say, hey, it's Morris Dees who already got ran out of the organization and Me Too'd in 2017.
No, it's given, right, absolutely. It's given them so much leeway for cover right now. The left is starting to spin it, A, that, this is an attack from the right, B, that they merely paid informants, like I said at the top of the show, trying to minimize it, and it gives them an ability to run and hide for cover instead of actually arresting a human being, which they seem to be loath to do in this administration, this thing is not going to have come to fruition the way people are thinking.
True. But I do appreciate some degree of sunlight being out there and other people can run with it. And I do feel like the USAID connection's probably in there somewhere. There's other lingering questions that haven't been answered. I'm going to say right now it's theories because it's not proven, but questions like, what about some of the woke right? Are they getting funded? Because there's that whole $7,000 question. People are throwing around questions like, are there creators that are actually being functioned? Is F-37 Nick Fuentes? A lot of people have been complaining about Nick Fuentes in Charlottesville for a while, or specifically January 6th.
Well, they would throw Nick Fuentes under the bus in a second, the SPLC.
Sure.
But let me give you some numbers here, because you were talking about numbers. They had taken in $51 million before Charlottesville. After Charlottesville, they raised, immediately after Charlottesville, $133 million per year just from Charlottesville. So it triples their amount of money by creating Charlottesville. Then let's take a look at some of the donors, like your friend Tim Cook, who donated over $1 million. I say friend, obviously.
Oh, he's a gay guy from Alabama. I kind of expected
$1 million from another gay actor named George Clooney. And then Chase, the bank couldn't stop themselves. The bank that I bank in said, we have to give them $500 million. They woke up one day and said, we have to give the Southern Poverty Law Center, because the Klan is on the march through Alabama, because all sorts of interracial crimes are happening. Let's give this organization $500 million without any checks or balances, Eric.
Let me guess, that was while they were debanking other people.
Absolutely. Of course.
So, yeah. It's a bad scene, and I know I'll be covering it more, obviously, because of the ties going, so far back. And it's a shameful part of the government with certain administrations utilizing the SPLC as government actors, even though technically they're not. They have people volunteering saying, hey, feds, we'll get some information for you. And the FBI saying, oh, would you? Thank you very much. Give it to us. So they didn't have to dig that far to find this, because they were feeding it to the same FBI that is charging them now.
Well, one guy who's not buying it is our old friend of the show, Chris Cuomo, who is not buying any of this. He believes the Klan is on the march, that this hasn't made a dent in it. And he's putting out some new talking points saying that the right-wing racist organizations are so enormous that this won't even touch it.
Wow. I guess that his theory is that the Klan is like the devil in making people believe it's not there, because I don't know where the hell they are.
I don't even know where their post office
I really don't know where the
they,
Klan is.
If I wanted to send money today, I woke up, I said, you know what? I'm going to leave money to the Klan in my will. What's their mailing address so I could mail them a check?
Yeah.
Where do I send it? P.O. Box 283, Clansville, Mississippi. Where do I mail that check?
I agree. That's why I love, Chris Cuomo, you stellar journalist, you Guido guy. Why don't you go out on the road and show us the Klan headquarters? Why don't you do the next Nick Shirley showing us the Klan? Please.
I wish, and I've said this for almost 20 years, somebody has got to find their office. Where do they go to work every day as the Klan? Years ago in the 70s and 80s, they'd find these retreats in the woods where they were camping, and they were cooking, they're burning a cross, they're having some Zig Heils, there's some Nazis, there's some Klan, different compounds in the woods. But you don't even see that in the past 15, 20 years. You don't even have the meetups like we're going to have on June 27th, Eric and I, down here in Anaheim, which will give you some more information later in the game. But the Klan seems to exist only in the minds of people who want them to keep existing.
Well, look at how much money it raises. I mean, it's a perfect slush fund. And why not? Why not? I mean, it's a sketchy-ass organization. And to give you an idea of who some of the people are, here's a brief little clip.
And they were paying informants to infiltrate some of these groups that they called extremists to gather information, dig up information, and report back to them. Here's a list of some high-ranking informants allegedly paid by the Southern Poverty Law Center. One of them is called Imperial Wizard of the United Klans of America, chat group organizer of Unite the Right Rally, a top fundraiser for the Neo-Nazi National Alliance, National Socialist Movement officer of the Aryan.
See, if I could just say something, what they're implying is there's a massive United Klans of America. That's the spin that they're completely messing up this entire story. Organizer of Unite the Right Rally, as if that's thousands of people that they're infiltrating. The top fundraiser for the Neo-Nazi National Alliance. Show me where the Neo-Nazi National Alliance is. It doesn't fucking exist. That's what I'm trying. Now, the Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club may exist, but the rest of this stuff, where are they?
Well, actually, I think that's accurate. Chat group organizer. So you had 5 guys in a freaking, Twitter chat group or whatever it was throwing BDMs. Like, so what do you think? Can we do it at the university? Okay. I mean, that's
but
probably
if you didn't know anything as much as you and I know about this, you would believe that they paid somebody money to infiltrate these incredible, well-organized groups that have tens of thousands of followers. And that is erroneous. That's the whole point I'm trying to make here.
Right. I would argue that they pay somebody to recruit people to create the organization or illusion of said organization.
That's my whole point of this segment. Of course, that's the absurdity of what they're attempting to reverse, Eric. That's my point. Thank God. And that's why. And Fox is falling right into the trap, E.
Right. Well, but that's why I wanted to point out that this goes back. I mean, this goes back to Clinton years again in 1994, 1995, where you had actual SPLC informants along with Carol Howe, who was an ATF informant, and other people. We don't know who they're informing for or whatever. All this place called Elohim City, which is nicknamed Alphabet City for some reason. And there you go. This is
there we go.
Right in line.
Why don't we? I want to cover the war at least a little bit here. We got into a little bit about Iran. That what's on our ticker, by the way? I don't even know. I haven't looked.
I mean, there's
what do you have there?
We've got Trump. You want to cover Iran? Trump said he's ordered to shoot to kill for anybody laying mines.
Okay, that's positive.
That's something going on. They're supposedly flying right now to. I guess JD Vance or somebody's on a plane to go to Islamabad, 21-hour flight to go navigate to Iran. Whoever's going has left and they're off to Pakistan again. So that's kind of where I understand it is. You probably know more. I've been out of.
Well, yeah, you've been. Let me just fill in a little bit here because first of all, I did not know there was a rail line that goes with armaments from China into Tehran. And somebody, I took a picture of it and I didn't know this existed. They've got to blow this thing to smithereens. I'll send you a photo of what I have, Eric. But the situation is the Chinese are now continuing to arm them via rail. And we're allowing this to happen while they stall us for time in Islamabad. I mean, I don't understand why we're not blowing these, at least the rail lines to smithereens. I mean, this is just airborne supremacy 101, Eric. I mean, why are we giving them time to get these armaments from China? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Victor Davis Hanson pointed this out this morning, so I just took a screenshot of it and I figured I'd send it to you. But, in terms of success of the war, if I was to tell you the following a year ago, Eric, and I'm going to read you something here that if I was to tell you this a year ago, you would have thought I was high as to this of what we've succeeded to do in 60 some odd days or 75 days, wherever the hell we are in this calendar. I'm going to read you 12 points. This is what we've achieved so far. Number one, for Iran, nuke program set back years, enrichment and reprocessing gutted, weaponization sites destroyed, Fordow is inoperable, Natanz in ruins, a generation of senior nuclear scientists have been eliminated. Number 2, ballistic missile program crippled. Monthly production down from 100 to near 0. Roughly half the regime's missiles and launchers destroyed. The IRGC Aerospace Force commander who ran the missiles enterprise is dead. Number 3, air defenses have been devastated. American and Israeli air power dominating Iranian skies, with strike aircraft operating over the country with near impunity. Number 4, full economic warfare, not just OFAC sanctions anymore, but military pressure layered on top, naval blockade, near zero oil exports, choked imports, wrecked steel and petrochemical sectors, triple-digit inflation, and a currency that is effectively worthless. Number 5, bear with me here, regime decapitation. Khamenei dead, Larijani dead, hundreds of senior IRGC intelligence, military, and Bajev commanders dead, including IRGC commander-in-chief and Armed Forces Chief of Staff and the Aerospace Force commander, Mojtaba Khamenei, inheriting a hollowed-out regime with no supreme authority and a gutted command structure. Number 6, the regime turning on Tehran. Gulf states shutting down the sanctions-busting, money laundering, and financial escape routes the regime has relied on for years. No Arab capital willing to throw Iran a lifeline. China and Russia providing limited support. Number 7, proxy networks shattered. Hezbollah and Hamas heavily degraded. Houthi political leadership taking direct Israeli strikes. The axis of resistance and ring of fire are now more slogans than real threats. Number 8, Syrian corridor severed. Assad is gone. The new government in Damascus is actively blocking Iranian arms transfers to Hezbollah, arresting smugglers, and publicly declaring Syria will no longer serve as a transit corridor for Tehran's terrorists. The land bridge to the Mediterranean that took decades to build is effectively closed. Number 9, Lebanon pivoting west. With Hezbollah battered and resupply choked, Israel and Lebanon have opened direct peace talks for the first time since 1983, aimed at a permanent agreement and Hezbollah's disarmament. Beirut now asserting that the Lebanese armed forces alone are responsible for their national defense. That's new. This is a direct repudiation of Hezbollah's resistance claim. Number 10, deterrence exposed as a bluff. 4 direct attacks on Israel, April 2024, October 2024, June 2025, March 2026, failed to impose strategic cost and instead triggered heavy retaliation. Iran couldn't even use Syria as a launch pad. 11, economy hollowed out from within. Power shortages, water crises, factory shutdowns, pension unrest, mass protests, nationwide demonstrations erupted in December 2025 after a year of economic freefall, with bazaris, oil workers, truckers, regime's traditional support base joining strikes across 31 provinces, running out of oil shortage, storage space, fuel shortages, the worst crisis since 1979. Number 12, scientific and technical brain drain. Beyond the nuclear experts, Iran has lost a generation of irreplaceable expertise in missile design, centrifuge engineering, and weapons development. The survivors are harder to recruit and easier to deter. And finally, number 13, their naval power has been decimated. The regular Navy shattered. IRGC Navy taking growing losses as CENTCOM moves to reopen Hormuz. Now,
so what
go
you're
ahead.
telling me then is that we're right where we were with the Obama deal.
Yeah. So this is what has happened as Trump is restructuring the entire Middle East. Syria was part of that game. We were curious as to what was going on in Syria months ago. We were curious about the Hamas ceasefire with Israel, the Lebanese ceasefire with Israel, the going to the Gulf states for support in this action against Iran. Every single thing that he's doing is leading to this choking of this radical regime and bringing it to its knees. But you don't understand, Mark, I'm paying $1 more for gasoline. I don't know if this is worth it to me as an American. I only have to laugh out loud as to the military efficiency of what we just achieved. If I was to tell you this a year ago, that we will have done this a year from now, you would have laughed in my face, and rightfully so, Eric. This has been achieved in the span of 2 months. I mean, this is breathtaking in terms of how much damage it's done to Iran, and also the restructuring of the entire Middle East to make this a normal place to operate in terms of business.
I agree. And I want to jump in really quickly because Beavis came at the $100 and he's practically our sponsor for the show lately. I mean, thank you very much, Beavis Wallace. China is sending Iran supplies over land via railroad. If true, and we do nothing, it'll be just like Laos supplying Vietnam. Please discuss. And I think we are.
Discuss. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. But you're talking about supplying in a long period land war of that. This is 60 days old. So, I mean, if the trains are still running from Beijing to Tehran within that period, we simply haven't gotten to it yet. Comparing it to Laos supplying Vietnam, that was decades in, bro. I mean, that was decades into the war. Starting in the 50s. Nevertheless, I mean, the similarities would be the trains or the rail lines, which are easily taken out. You know, as Victor Davis Hanson said, I mean, this could be done on one night. And he also said that if we take out a bridge a day or a oil refinery a day, we don't tell them which one, so they don't have to put their human shields there. These poor sons of bitches who are going to be dragged out in the middle of the night to stand at the bridge that we don't tell them which one it is.
I could be wrong, but we may not have to. I saw something earlier about them pulling in a ship that had been decommissioned and literally parked and rusting for years now that can hold 2 million barrels, which will buy them like 48 hours. So they're running they're running out of places already to put the oil.
That's the real
and they're
story.
about to shut down.
You're telling the real story. You're
of it. So
you're right.
Really, it's like it's
a waiting game. It's a waiting game. It's us versus what Hanson is now calling the Democratic Party is no longer the Democratic Socialist Party. He's now saying it's full on an Islamicist party, and he's not wrong. Their support and hatred, their support of Islam, their hatred of Israel, their hatred domestically of American conservative Jews, their moves have to support so-called Democratic Islamic candidates in Dearborn and around the country. This thing is moving past a socialist party. Mandami is almost like the transition character who's half socialist, half Islamist, Eric, and he is now the transitional figure. They're moving at such lightning speed. Of course, we had this Islamic president for 8 years, so it's not unusual to see this happening with Barack Hussein Obama, who sent pallets of cash over to the Iranians, as did Joe Biden the second they got into office. The Iranians feel, according to Victor Davis Hanson and other experts, that they can wait out Trump with the help of the American leftist media, with the help of the Democratic Party, with the help of scared chicken conservative Trump supporters who are shitting in their pants because their gas is now $3. They feel that they can weather this through and go back to the way it was when they get rid of Trump. Trump feels that he's going to wipe them off the face of the earth physically, and I don't mean that civilian-wise, I mean that infrastructure-wise, if they don't turn over their atomic program. And that's the red line at this point, Eric.
Well, also, you know, everybody's repositioning themselves with a lame duck president, but this is their problem too.
Yeah.
He's a lame duck president.
It cuts both ways.
Who gives a shit? And if he doesn't care, I mean, if anything, I could see Trump with his personality being just perfectly fine with the Democrat taking over in 2028, saying, "Do you miss me yet?"
Yep.
You know,
no.
And letting it play out.
You're not wrong. I think he's quite willing, at least at a minimum, to sacrifice the midterms, which historically blow the other way anyway. I mean, the idea that he would rein this shit in because of the midterms and then lose the fucking midterms anyway, Eric, which historically is the case. I think he's made that calculus already. Yep.
And let's see, Casey here. Iran asserting so much they're refusing to send negotiators to Pakistan for another.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree with this guy. I mean, they even now it's like they can't even get it together to fly coach. I mean, this situation is internally probably totally chaotic within the regime right now and what's going on the ground.
Well, that's the other thing going on. I think, and there's rumblings because it's not like we can get in and look, but
I know
They have hardline militants who I believe are holding the, political group hostage after a fashion.
Yeah.
And let's look at the deal here. Once a deal is made, what happens to the IRGC and everything that they've worked for forever? They're old news. They're out of the picture. And this is their survival. And this is a group that really doesn't care about the survival of citizens or civilians or people. These are the hardest core militants that have already made a deal, and they have an apocalyptic view of the world already.
Yeah.
So what's their motivation? And that's
right. But I mean, think about who they are physically. They're guys with machine guns. I mean, what do they control? They have no Navy. They have no air. I mean, what do they physically, other than their own body and their own?
That they have
hostage. I mean, there's 90 million people. I don't know they can control 90 million freaking people while you're being taken apart by a superpower, called the United States. I mean, they're trying to threaten and hang and do things to maintain power. But that, as Victor Davis Hanson said today, and I completely agree with him, he said, this is the Berlin Wall coming down. This is the end of their Soviet empire. It took a matter of months after the wall came down for the collapse of the Soviet Union. This is a miniature Soviet Union, a theocratic version of it, and they're being taken down right now and being dismantled by the United States. The regime itself will collapse because of the weight, the sheer weight of what's being put on it, Eric.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's where I think that Trump is just sitting there.
Yeah, I agree.
He's in no hurry.
I agree. I mean, I don't even look. I mean, even the negotiations don't really save them. I mean, if you think that negotiating in Islamabad is going to stop the USS Gerald R. Ford from moving into position, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Well, the fact that they are sending people or not, I don't even know anymore. But they agreed to send people, and supposedly were sending people while still blockaded means they already caved on one element. Because remember, no negotiations. If you blockade it, then we're not talking. Well, now they're suddenly going to talk, even though they're blockaded.
Yeah, they violated their own sacred oath there. That being said, I think you pointed out that this Connecticut senator was rooting for Iran.
Chris Murphy.
Chris Murphy is actually out there publicly rooting for Iran now, as is Ro Khanna, as is other members of the Democratic Islamic regime. They are rooting straight up. Their lives depend on this war defeating Donald Trump. Anyone who, if you're a Trump supporter and you think that you're not going to support him through this war, you're helping them. You're helping your own enemy, bro. If you think you're going to just watch some MAGA Reich nutty podcast that we're losing the war, that we have to lose the war, that Trump is finished, you're helping Ro Khanna. You're helping these guys, Blumenthal and Murphy and Nancy Pelosi and everyone else on the far left. Tip of the hat to you if you want to help them out. But I'm not going to buckle. I'm going down with the ship if that's the way it takes. If that's the way it goes with Trump. I mean, I didn't vote for Ro Khanna, and I didn't vote for Murphy or Blumenthal, and I didn't vote for Tucker Carlson either, who's apparently embarrassed to be a member of the Republican Party now.
Yeah, I asked a question on the last episode. I'm going to ask a second question, which is very similar. Before I asked, do you want Iran to win? And I'm speaking directly to all of them. So now I'm just going to reverse it and just say, do you want the United States to lose?
Right. That's right. Because there's a lot of people who are saying that.
I think the actions, they speak for themselves, however you feel. Whether you support it, don't support it, wherever you are, do you want the United States to lose? I really would like to know.
I believe there's a number of people, even in this audience, who would like to teach Trump a lesson. They feel that he violated something. It's really amazing to me how, they're accusing us of carrying water for Trump and this and that a million times, different times for different things.
Oh, don't worry. That'll change.
No. I'm saying, no, it's always changed. But it's always about their issue at their time that we disagree with. It's not the time when we disagree with something with Trump that they agree with. It's only we're carrying water for Trump when it's an issue they disagree with Trump on and we agree with them on, as per this issue.
Yes, and it is amusing because almost every episode we hear about how we're, salivating over him or whatever the hell, we almost always are criticizing him like in another segment of the show.
So it's whose
and
ox
it's
is being
coming.
gored.
Don't worry, folks. So.
Yeah, no, it's just so crazy. I mean, look, this neocon warmongering, name slamming, crazy. It's all meaningless. It's all meaningless, bro. He said this for 20 years. These people who support Trump, who were in
20,
shock,
40,
20,
50,
maybe 40, who said
years,
that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, seem to be shocked that he's now doing something about it. This is why I voted for this guy. You may have your other reasons for voting for him, and there's a multitude of reasons, such as closing the border, deporting mass deportation of illegal aliens, voted for that, voted for closing the border, voted for a number of issues that Trump supports, and this is one of them. You've got your head in the sand like an ostrich, like you didn't hear him talking about this his entire life. But Mark, I didn't think he would ever do it. Well, I mean, then you don't understand Trump.
Well, and those who are screeching and saying 25th Amendment because he's not in line with their perfect scenario.
That's just great.
How would the world be right now with Kamala Harris? I really want
that
to
would
know.
Be great. That would be
I mean, seriously, you're so upset. You're saying we've got to just literally jettison this guy. So you are saying that you wish, because you regret it, Tucker Carlson, you wish it was Kamala Harris. That's what I hear.
Well,
because that was the only option. There was two options there.
My favorite story of the week involving Islamicists is this guy, Ken Griffin in New York, that Mandami made this video about outside of his building. I think he lives on Fifth Avenue, or maybe lives on Central Park South. I'm not exactly sure, but Mandami made this crazy video tapping on the lens of the camera. I guess his mother was directing.
Oh, is that tax video? Hey, it's tax day.
No.
Happy tax day.
Right. No, but he singled out by name in that video. He was in front of his house, Eric, in front of his building of Ken Griffin, the real estate developer. And Ken Griffin responded today. And his response is not going to be received
It's
very well.
It's the perfect response.
It is. 21,000 jobs. 6,000 of them would have been construction jobs under Ken Griffin Citadel LLC. Here he is taunting Ken Griffin about his lifestyle and how much money Ken Griffin has and how he's going to take it from him. 15,000 of those jobs would have been permanent jobs. 6,000 were temporary construction jobs. And I think Ken Griffin may be having the last laugh here as he cancels this project in Mandami's new socialist city.
Well, let's see.
When I ran for mayor, I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history. This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million.
Don't worry, they won't be worth that soon.
Whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This
How do you get that money?
Is specifically designed for the richest of the rich.
Yeah.
Those who store their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live there. But even so, they're able to reap the huge financial rewards of owning property in, dare I say, the greatest city in the world.
Not anymore.
Most of the time, these units are sitting empty, since again, they don't actually live here.
So I'm going to charge them. They're going to sit empty, but now they'll be empty without an owner. Go ahead and tax that.
This is a fundamentally unfair system that hurts working New Yorkers. Now, it's coming to an end. This tax will raise at least $500 million directly for the city. It'll help fund things like free childcare, cleaner streets, and safer neighborhoods. As mayor,
500 million, 500 million
play
versus 6 billion. He just
and
lost.
Some a little bit more than others.
This schmuck just created $500 million in a wealth tax for a $6 billion single project by Ken Griffin. That's a schmuck who can't even add.
Jamie Dimon's talking about pulling out of there too. There's many others. I mean, yeah. Well, he's just going to run Wall Street out of town. I mean, we're going to be like, you know what he's doing?
They're going to move across the river to. I'm going to predict they're going to move across the river to New Jersey and set up shop there. This has always been rumored. It's 2 feet away if you go down to Lower Manhattan. They're just going to avoid this entire thing by about a mile and just move their operations over there.
Well, mark my words, if he keeps it up, I mean, New York and Detroit can have a parallel history.
Yeah.
Because Detroit, boy, that was the shit back in the day, and Detroit now is seen as, you know, a moral story, if you will. And I think New York is heading that way, and good. I'm here for it. So I hope they actually move all the way to Texas or somewhere. Never
Well,
mind.
I don't think that's going to happen because I think they want to be as physically close without the tax ramifications. Speaking of which, there was a woman, I don't know if you saw this article, somebody named Cheryl Cowan, who used to make, up until USAID was torn down, she was making $272,000 a year in some USAID funded NGO, which got the plug pulled when Elon Musk pulled the curtain back on their evil enterprise. She's now applying for a job at a place called Penzeys Spices in Falls Church, Virginia, for $19 an hour. She's interviewing currently for that job from her no-show, do-nothing, $272,000 a year USAID-related senior VP job. There's no skills involved. These were jobs that were political appointee jobs, and now she's had to apply for a job at Penzeys.
By the way, I have more respect for her than some of the other ones, because at least she's applying for a real person's job, and not just continuing the grift or robbing people. So I'm gonna, you know, I'll give her a little bit of a
well, you're giving her a pass.
Grace.
It might be that the network and the road has been cut off.
Oh, it can't be, but at least she's still trying to work and not just grift.
She may be having to work instead of trying to work. It might not be a hobby, Eric. It might be desperation, which is what I think.
Most of us are desperate and taking whatever the hell we can. So, I mean,
it's not like I could choose between the 272 or this. I mean, I got to do this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know too many others who will be quick to come up with some bullshit lawsuit or crazy ass grift or try to sell some sort of goofy memoirs, or, you know, a lot of different ones.
Did you read about this Army guy who somehow made $400,000 in Polymarket?
Yep. That's a controversial story at the moment, because there are definite parallels. And I don't know if you remember, for example, like there was a guy who was on a submarine, and I'm going somewhere there, so bear with me.
I'm with you.
He's on a submarine, and he took a picture of himself at work.
Right.
And he wound up in prison because he took a picture of himself in a secure location. And meanwhile, you know, Hillary Clinton had an entire email server that was, you know, moving all the mail through. The argument that's going for this guy is a soldier, and the soldier took advantage of some information he knew, or whatever, however you want to put it, laid a bet on Polymarket and made a ton of money because of the capture of Maduro. Meanwhile, so he's getting locked up, he's arrested, he's in deep shit, but the Pelosi's of the world, all of Congress, Ilhan Omar's, no, they can profit away.
I mean, but what does it have to do with this guy?
I
agree with you, but what about this guy? Well,
they're they've arrested him for using information to profit, and people are pointing out
using classified information to profit. No, or
it is.
Okay,
so technically,
they both could be guilty.
They both can, but it's it is pointing out, you know, the same way. That's why I brought up the guy on the submarine. Right. Yeah. He was in a classified, secure location, took the picture. It was wrong. He went down and down hard. Whereas the power brokers and all that, they get to do whatever they want.
I agree with you, but let's take a look at this particular story, though. I'm curious as to what the hell happened here. So what did he do? He had classified info that they were going after Maduro, and then bet on the Polymarket on this particular idea?
Yes, they alleged that who participated in the planning and execution of the U.S. military operation to capture Nicolas Maduro.
So he was in on the planning.
Classified information about that operation to profit. So
he was in on the planning. He wasn't just some random soldier. Wow. Okay, that's heavy.
And then he laid down a bet. Essentially, it was like, you know,
oh, come on.
He created an account, and he said, essentially, let me see, he took the position of U.S. forces in Venezuela by January 31st, 2026. Maduro out by January 31st, 2016. So he He knew there's an operation. He bet that the U.S. forces would be there and that the guy would be out.
Wow. I hope they throw the book at this guy. I mean, that is real. I mean, it's one thing, insider trading. This is like insider trading plus military insider trading. It's like insider trading on steroids, Eric. You know, it's not just making money on a stock bet. This is military's lives are at stake here.
Yep. I mean, potentially. Yeah.
And also a super complicated top secret military operation. And it altered the betting market. So in other words, somebody, you know, that bet itself altered the market.
Well, potentially, and it also could have tipped.
Yeah.
Because there's enough money in there that it could have tipped them going, wait,
that's what I meant.
Something's going down.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Sure.
Wow, man, that is again, sometimes these stories are so bizarre. You couldn't think that this was possibly able to happen.
I agree. But I think it happens more often than people realize. And there's a lot of it happening right now with these trades that have been going on every time, you know, Strait of Hormuz, it's open. Boom. Somebody lays down a bet 10 minutes before Trump says something.
Well, they got to send a message through this guy then. They really have to use this guy to send a message. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but 2 people were not on the hate list of the Southern Poverty Law Center. 2 people who you might think would be on there, because everybody and my mother was on there.
Sure.
Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens. Surprisingly.
Well, it's surprising about Candace. Extremely. Megyn has been pivoting in there, but
they err on the side of no caution. The Southern Poverty Law. They have really moderate, normal people on that hate list.
Well, I know, but she was NBC at the time, so with that might have given a little. I'm just saying, Candace Owens though is shocking because she's been high on the list. But then, you know, Candace Owens, I guess, is on vacation with
Where is she? Where is she?
From what I'm hearing rumble-wise, she went to Italy last minute. She forgot to tell everybody and suddenly didn't do the show this week. And because of her family vacation, I hear it's Italy. Supposedly Nick Fuentes is also in Italy.
There's like a bunch of them who have disappeared.
Yeah, Ian Carroll.
Is this true?
Canceled his show because the guy did a sabuku of himself, like this UFO guy or whatever. Took himself out essentially like a couple days ago. So for some reason he said, I can't do a show. I have to go dark because somebody else.
What's your take on this? Why are they all disappearing? Is there a secret conference somewhere?
You know, I do not know.
Oh, what do you imagine? What do you surmise?
There's some sort of coordination, and I don't, but I can't. I don't want to be like them, just throwing crap out there to stick. Like I will say, like Milo Yiannopoulos, who I'm not really a fan of, but he seems to always be in the thick of these things with Kanye, with her, with Marjorie Taylor Greene working for her. He was commenting like a year or 2 ago that Candace Owens ran into trouble because Nick Fuentes promised her an audience, but he was saying that Nick Fuentes has bought it up and that it wasn't a real audience. And so there's some degree of collaboration or something going on.
Why would they shut down their shows simultaneously and go to a location?
It's weird.
I know it's weird. I get it, but why do you think this has happened? The only thing I could think of, and again, I don't care, you know, what people think about it. It seems to me like they went somewhere to have a meeting with someone as a group.
Right. Well, and I don't know, you know, like Candace Owens, I think she's got a hearing coming up anytime. Laura Loomer, you know, I mixed feelings about her, but has been on a war path with Candace Owens and dropping all kinds of information about her properties, etc., offering information to the Macrons, which is the lawsuit that she's got going right now, claiming that she's hiding assets and things like that.
Kasowitz just bailed out.
I was going to say her lawyer.
Mark Kasowitz is who Eric is referring to, by the way.
Well, Kasowitz is just the latest of this, but she was dropping that information too. But Kasowitz just dropped out, which, by the way, Candace Owens left the day after Mark Kasowitz dropped out, the day after they announced the whole SPLC thing. So there's a lot of things happening at the same time. I don't want to draw a correct causal link because I don't know. It could be one of these. It could be none of these. I think they're sketchy, nasty people, and they have a lot of things going on, but that's my opinion. So,
right. I'm not asking for an editorial opinion on these people, which is correct. I'm just saying their shows have gone dark simultaneously.
Yes.
That's bizarre. That's
right. Well,
bizarre.
I take it as refreshing. But
I'm sorry. All right. Okay. This is not getting anywhere. Let me ask you something.
Well, what do you think, man? You're putting me on the spot.
I think they're going to a location to meet with some people. I said it 4 times. I think they're going somewhere for some reason to meet with Mr. Big or somebody or each other or something in a third place to conspire and scheme and figure something out. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everybody just I mean, is there anything in Italy that they could have been attracted to?
It may not have anything to do with Italy itself. It may just be a location, right? That they're just meeting together.
Absolutely.
At a location that
nice and central. A lot of people could get there to wherever.
Yeah, it's like a meetup that we have in Southern California.
I agree.
So, okay, let's get on. Well, I don't know what you have over there in the hopper, but let's see what you have.
I mean, we have a lot of different things. We just talked about the soldier, and while we're polishing Trump, let's go and get on our other story that obviously shows our Trump love, which is not so loving. Trump reclassifying marijuana in a bold move, angering some of his closest Republican allies.
Oh, that's not good. That's really not good.
This is kind of a continuation of the executive order with the psychedelic studies. Yeah. What people don't understand is the reclassification is super important because now that frees up all the states. And one of the biggest barriers, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right.
Classification prevented banking for people being able to go buy their weed with a credit card or use their debit card or anything. It had to be an all cash business.
Also the companies putting their money in Jamie Dimon's bank.
All of that, yes. So it had to be an all cash business, and it really made it very dangerous, very tenuous. This puts a legitimate veneer on it where now people can use credit cards to buy cannabis. They can transfer money back and forth between states because it no longer has that class 1 or whatever.
Yeah, the Republican Party is rightfully up in arms about this. Tom Cotton, really all these different mainstream Republicans just shouting from the rooftops about this. And Trump apparently just a pure business move. He keeps saying, I'm not for illegal drugs, but this will spread it out. And I looked up someone while I was doing research on this story, and I sent, again, there was a name attached to this. Let me just back up for a second before we show who this is. I found out that he was being lobbied by a group that was being run by someone named Kim Rivers. Now, I never heard of Kim Rivers, and I never heard of this group. And it's called True Leave, like Relieve. It's called True Leave. This group, or this person representing True Leave, has been lobbying Trump and raising money to give to him for like 5 years, meeting with Trump. And I said to myself, just half jokingly before the show, I bet you she's a smoking hot blonde. And I didn't even know it was a guy or a girl. So I started to dig it up, and I want Eric to show the photos of what I discovered moments before the show of the person that got this through Trump, finally, after meeting with him so many times, this Achilles heel of Trump once again exposed by this incredible lobbying effort by this woman, Kim Rivers, who apparently has opened his heart to her to allow her as the CEO of this cannabis dispensary national organization. Here she is. She has the face that Trump loves and also is the CEO of True Leave. Isn't that wonderful, folks? Here she is in front of one of her cannabis dispensaries that is a national thing that now she can bank with impunity. And she worked on Trump, according to my sources, for years, raising money for his reelection, raising money for his various events and meetups and Mar-a-Lago dinners and everything else, that cannabis money. And Trump is also giving retroactive tax breaks to the illegal drug dealers from before the time he signed the executive order in retroactive tax relief. And we're supposed to accept that. I didn't vote for that. I'll tell you that right now, Eric.
And by the way, as a quick shortcut, what's Trump's type? Fox News anchor.
Yeah, I mean, this is the type of woman.
Essentially, women that look like that.
Right, this is the type of woman. If there was a third Trump term, she would be Secretary of Commerce. That's where they come from. The reason I'm pointing this out, they start out as a lobbyist. I said to Eric before the show, instead of picking a guy who looks like Eric to be the lobbyist, you could pick Kim Rivers out of Florida to be the lobbyist. That's how we ended up with freaking Pam Bondi. That's how we ended up with Noam up there and her sex parties in South Dakota. This guy had, and Eric pointed out how he had purchased the Miss Universe contest. I forgot about that. This is the Achilles heel of this guy. So if you're trying to do business with him, why not take a smoking hot Kim Rivers to lobby him? It's not her money. She's just the face of this organization. She's the one behind the drug dealers who are up in Oregon and Washington State growing weed up there. Medical marijuana, that train has left the station 20 years ago. Nobody needs medical marijuana anymore. It's a bullshit story. Nobody gives a shit. This is about giant commercial cannabis dispensaries in the middle of your town in Dacron, Ohio, a fictional town that we made up for the National Lampoon Sunday newspaper parody, but I always use that as a fictional Midwest town for effect. That being said, a giant dispensary is coming to your town because of this moving cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3.
Hey, and here in Virginia, it'll be probably by summertime at the rate we're going right now.
Yep. Now, I just want to follow up on the psychedelic story from last week, because there's a story in the New York Post about the psychedelic story. This is happening in real time as quickly as possible because he wants to get this out of the way. President Trump's executive order fast-tracking psychedelic research could unlock a massive yet deeply fraught market, Eric, that Silicon Valley executives have become obsessed with. Mm-hmm. The order announced last weekend streamlines FDA pathways for psilocybin, MDMA, and other psychedelics, potentially turning a once taboo sector into a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. Investors such as Peter Thiel and Stephen Cohen have already quietly backed massive psychedelic startups, as predicted on this show. Betting on therapeutic applications for depression, PTSD, addiction, and everything else on the planet Earth. The danger, of course, is that the tools aren't used with precision.
Well, I was telling Mark before the show, in my opinion, and this is the other weakness, not just the women, but Trump is into this because cannabis and crypto, in my mind, are parallel lanes as other economies. You know, like there's so much money out there. It's so early in it that, I mean, think of the fortune you can make as being the original big cannabis.
Well, it's already happened. There is big cannabis. So it's way past that. I mean, the crypto could be used to buy it now. But the reality of it is now they can use debit and credit cards for the first time. Crypto will, of course, be part of that as a purchasing device. But, I mean, the fact is this was a cash business up until now. This is essentially a cash business.
But now that you get it legitimized, all of a sudden you've got all kinds of banking and financing and everything else.
Right. No, that's the whole point. Yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, making it Schedule 3, he's trying to bullshit us, saying it's about research. It's not about research. I read what Trump said. It was bullshit. It makes it Schedule 3 along with painkillers, ketamine, and as where it'll sit.
Heroin. Yeah.
As a Schedule 3 drug. But the reality of it is this was about banking from day one. I just wanted to get that out of my own craw.
All right. Well, I'm going to take this moment to
Go ahead. Take the moment.
discuss a drug that I encourage everybody to partake in, and that, of course, is coffee. It's
Oh,
perfectly legal, relatively healthy, holds up well, and we happen to have two great blends, and that's America's Untold Story Supreme Breakfast Blend, and of course our Magic Bullet Blend. It's unreal. As I've stated many times before, this coffee is not white label coffee, and those who are in the creator wars and seeing all that, you might have heard there's different people out there representing quote white label coffee, which is like, you know, some sort of Starbucks variant, or Cisco, which is like a restaurant supply house type thing, or whatever. And they make, you know, like coffees for all these different companies. It's just their one bread blend, whatever. They stick another label on it and boom, they sell it. This is custom formulated coffee. It's organic coffee. Literally, when Phil created this, he shipped it to me and I tasted it and said, yes, Mark approved it. This is really good stuff. It is done by a company called Moon Doughs, which if you don't like Starbucks, this is for you. Opposite of Starbucks would be a Moon Dough. I think it's kind of silly, but that's the name. And the key element of this coffee, why it's so good, is not just that it's organic, etc., but he knows how to roast it and it's not burnt. Burnt coffee is why coffee can be bitter. This coffee is not burnt. It is very refreshing, robust. I really believe you will enjoy it, and you can point at the screen right now if it's on your TV. You can always visit it later. There's a link in the description wherever you are, or just go, if you're listening, to America's Untold Stories.com/coffee and pick some up yourself. I recommend, if you do like it, you bought it before, if you buy 4 bags or more, you can get free shipping, which will make a difference as well. So I know that's how I buy it.
And we approve this message. Is there a chance of showing that Elon Musk post about migration to Europe by illegal aliens? I don't know if you saw that thing. It's a little video of, it's almost like a...
I'll have to find it. I don't remember.
Oh, okay. All right. Is there a chance that you could show that photo I sent you about the map of the train?
I showed it earlier.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry. I wasn't looking. Okay, great. Thank you. No, I wasn't paying attention.
Are you talking about the railway?
Yeah, you showed that, right?
Yeah, I was sitting there the whole time you're reading.
Oh, no, okay. I didn't know, because I was reading it. I didn't know it. I just wanted to point this out because this thing's got to go. This has got to be blown to smithereens. That's all I'm saying. Now, this week they had one of the Hamas captives, who was a 23-year-old Israeli boy, who was kept for 500 days, was asked to speak by these Jewish groups at UCLA here in West LA. And he was supposed to come and speak of what his strength was and how he stayed alive during torture by Hamas for over 500 days. Young kid, kidnapped from the rave where they were all at the rock festival October 7th and held. And the school students protested to prevent him from speaking at the school. This survivor of this horrific event was blocked by UCLA students from speaking. And apparently this is okay with UCLA administrators who will not allow other messages to come across to the students. This guy was this kid is a survivor of this brutal attack, and he was blocked from speaking, which was outrageous enough. And Trump has not done enough to actually bring these universities to their knees. They literally have to be brought. They're not going to stop, Eric. They're not going to stop. You can't threaten to sue them. They will merely agree with you and go back to what they're doing. They have to be financially damaged. And he keeps putting out this lure and then pulling it back, putting it out there, pulling it back, them agreeing to stuff in writing. This thing that happened this week of banning this kid from speaking at UCLA, merely about his experience, is so crazy. But it gets even worse, because yesterday, University of California at Berkeley up north allowed this a terrorist suicide bomber to speak at their school of what it's like to blow people up and be a suicide bomber.
Stop with the word, dude. I know it's been a while.
Oh, okay. Well, it's already out there. Yeah, I never connect the two.
I understand. I'm just,
Yeah.
Anyway.
So anyways, this is the face of that failed attempt. And this woman got to speak at UC Berkeley while the Hamas victim was banned by UCLA. All in the same week, not even coordinated. I just thought this was crazy, Eric.
Can I point out, okay, yes, I want Trump and them to do more, but I want to hold the alumni to account on this.
Absolutely.
Because I'll tell you what, Trump could do so much, but if the damn alumni, unless you all believe the same thing, and I can't believe that the alumni who are going to be older and all that, all believe in that. And those of you who don't agree with that message, I think all of you alumni should be cutting off your checks and everything else. And that might get their attention because it is tiresome. And yes, I want Trump to do more, but Trump is kind of busy at the moment too.
Well, I'm not talking about him personally. I'm saying,
I understand.
How much federal money does UCLA get? I mean, it's pretty easy to cut off a spigot.
Sure.
You see it. This is from your tax dollars every year. $1 billion in federal money goes simply to UCLA. $1 billion. And that has to happen so they could do what they did this week. There's no way. I mean, as late as 2025, federal funding to the university became the subject of major legal battles, with over $500 million in grants being temporarily frozen and subsequently ordered to be restored by federal judges. So this is where we are with this thing. Mm-hmm. And they keep running into these judges and what I'm saying is this turning off of the spigot is not enough, because these judges are making them turn it back on so they could do this political stunts and maintaining this propaganda for the new kids coming up.
I agree. I'm of the mindset that I wouldn't mind seeing all federal funding turned off for all universities. And let me explain why. Because I think that some of the harm that younger generations, past yours and mine, sure, it was expensive for us, but the student debt load that is on a lot of the younger generations, which they cannot bankrupt themselves out of, is partially because of the federal and state matching of funds. So they ramp up their rates knowing that the financial aid is going to kick in. And so if you get rid of that matching funding, then they've got to actually get back down and get more competitive potentially, which could be less harmful for everyone. So I think the whole
UC Berkeley, $1 billion.
Yeah.
UC Berkeley is $1 billion.
They're probably all $1 billion or more. I mean, can you imagine what Harvard is, or some of the others?
No, but these are state schools. These are not private schools. That's the reason I'm mentioning this. This is tax money from people in Iowa, from our friends in North Dakota, from people who live in Alabama, people who live in Pennsylvania. You're paying for this on these campuses to have this fascistic shutdown of free speech in this zone, which is almost like a 100,000 person city, Eric, with its own police force, with its own socialistic medicine, with its own socialist economy. These are miniature cities operating in bubbles within the United States that apparently are protect. What's that?
And it gets worse because they're turning out the HR departments in every damn corporation in America and poisoning the entire culture in every way possible. And we're funding it.
There's two areas that have to be stopped and on the hit list: Hollywood and academia. Those are the number 1 and 2 spots. And I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you bring the military in to do this. Something has got to break this fever pitch of propaganda. It's got to be broken. If the courts aren't going to do it, there's got to be other ways to make this work.
I agree. And wow, Robert Govea's audience has rated our Rumble.
I like that guy. I like that guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Robert Govea's great, squared away lawyer. I actually interviewed him the week before he changed his name, which I'm still frustrated to this day.
I watch him as often as I can. So welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome.
Yeah, we have I think a definite overlapping audience, to be sure. Great guy, but thank you all for coming by and showing up.
I just wanted to give credit where credit is due. I forgot the guy who wrote that thing is a guy named the thing I read about the Iran success is a guy named Mark Dubowitz.
Yes.
I'm not taking credit. Host of Iran Breakdown, a micro niche celebrity, but not your niche, which is kind of funny. But a very smart guy who was able to put that breakdown together, those 12 talking points that I read. Sorry it took so long.
Oh, no. I kind of figured that's where that came from because I was listening to Two-Way earlier. I think they had mentioned it. I was just looking to see.
Now, what's going to happen at this White House Correspondents' Dinner, Eric? Speaking of Two-Way.
I don't really know because Trump, stopped that whole thing. And really, part of the reason Trump is president is because of the White House Correspondents' Dinner in 2011 or 2012. I don't know if people remember the lore with this, but Trump was attending and Obama was there and he mocked Trump saying, yeah, one thing you'll never be is president, which really helped motivate the man to run later. And then, of course, the correspondents all hate Trump. So Trump was kind of figured it out. He's like, you know what? Just never mind. We're not going to bother with it. But deep down, Trump loves the mainstream press. He loves the New York papers. It's the hometown papers.
Well, Mark is there. Halpern's all dressed up, ready to go.
Of course he is. Yeah.
Halpern's, going to take some quotes from different people.
Yes, he is.
Well, it's going to be fascinating. I've already T-voted on C-SPAN. I recommend that you do the same Saturday night, I think, tomorrow night. I forget, I T-voted. And
who's hosting it, though?
I don't know. That I don't know either. Because that's what I was asking you. I have no idea. I just T-voted the whole thing.
I think Norm Macdonald actually did one of them.
Well, he's not doing this one. I'll tell you that much.
Obviously.
Why is that, Eric?
Well, he's been dead for 5 or 6 years, so it'd be different.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. Anyway. I'm sorry. Well, who would you like it to host? Let me put it back in.
Well, I'm just curious who it's going to, because honestly, a lot of times they get these weird, obscure people who got a Netflix contract nobody's ever heard of, and their only talent is making nasty comments about Trump. So,
how about Seinfeld? Why can't he do it?
I'd be perfectly fine with Seinfeld.
Seinfeld is, conservative in terms of
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock's pretty far left, and as is Chappelle. But Seinfeld is a huge supporter of Israel, and a conservative like Larry Miller and a bunch of these guys who are in the comic world. People don't realize how conservative.
Dennis Miller would be good.
Dennis Miller also. People don't realize how conservative actual comics are. The ones that I've lived with, grown up with, written for, hung out with. Most of them are conservative politically.
How much
actors? No. Actors, no. Comics, yes.
Well, that's because if you look at the format, they're independent operators.
Yes.
Actors are part of a giant team. Yes. They're part of a collective. A comic is collective.
Yes. So. There's many conservative comics out there who are very, very sharp. And they may not even be political comics. I'm not saying their material's political, but they are personally conservative.
Yeah, well, Jay Leno, I think, is a good example.
Absolutely.
And he could host it, if he felt.
Jay Leno, hey, I could do it.
Somebody said Rob Schneider. Yeah,
Rob Schneider can do it.
Adam Carolla would be fun.
Adam Carolla would be perfect. Let's get Carolla on the book, even if it's by video. You don't have to be there.
Oh, he'd go there. And Carolla was actually on Celebrity Apprentice, so there is history.
Come on. It would be great to have Carolla.
Yep.
Well, it's a little late now, but it's
what about Roseanne?
Roseanne? I love Trump.
Mm-hmm.
She would be good too. Yeah, I think there may be some surprises tomorrow night, so I'm looking forward to this.
There could be, and Trump is freaking funny. As a matter of fact, he was doing the didn't they have like a Friars roast or something that they did in New York?
Just listen to him on Stern all those years, calling in on Howard's show for years. He was hysterical.
Yeah, yeah.
Could we
People
possibly show that Rottweiler catching that burglar? Can you make my day by showing that Roddy, who's been waiting his whole life for this burglar to come over the wall?
Let me go find it again.
All right,
That's been out there for like 8
I've
years.
just been watching it over and over again. This poor dog has been waiting for someone to break into that house his entire life, and some schmuck made his life appropriate.
Okay, yeah.
Do you have it? Do you really do? No.
Well, no, I think you've said it, but yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's been around for about 8 or 10 years. So let me see.
Okay, well, the Rottweiler waited for 8 or 10 years. Thanks for taking the wind out of the joke, but let's see what you got.
No, it's still funny. It's
okay.
A classic. Well, somebody's claiming that's AI. Hold on. No, I think that.
Okay, well, again, I don't know. I'm not an expert on any of this. But
all right, so. Get rid of the music.
Yeah, get rid of the music. That's for sure. I mean, you got to give it to the guy trying to get over that wall with the
well, he's motivated.
He's definitely motivated, but the Roddy's motivated too. He takes him down.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to see that again. Sorry to bother you.
That's
sorry.
Stop it. There.
Now, what about your friend Hassan Piker, who now
my friend?
Again, wow. I say this like as a way of joking, but he is now calling for the execution of various people in terms of physics and supporting Mangione's takedown of the health executive who he claimed deserved to get what he deserved. He is being surrounded by Democratic mainstream people, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
This guy,
he's been mainstream. Yeah. By the way, before we get deeper into Hassan, this just crossed my path.
Okay.
Apparently, Donald Trump just posted this.
Candace Owens stock, which is never very high, fallen. Her attack on the person of France. I believe in this case without verification. Okay. What is?
And then that is an actual shot of her from several years ago.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. Gotcha. All right. Okay, anyway. I can live with that.
Anyway, Hassan Piker is a well-known Twitch streamer who is Cenk's nephew. His claim, what brought him on the map is Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. That's his nephew.
Right.
And he has been a vile Twitch streamer for years, celebrating, in my opinion, Hamas, everything. I mean, he's just despises Israel, loves anything Islam.
Well, he's getting into domestic politics.
Shock his dog, and I mean, he's just despicable all around.
Didn't he shock his dog just sitting right next to him? If his
dog tried he likes his dog to be a prop. So there was a shock collar, and when the dog got up to go shift position, he shocked the dog because the dog wasn't presenting itself in the proper.
Boy, this guy's a piece of work.
Oh,
you know what's weird? You know how they were talking about, Trump was talking about possibly, or the Pentagon was talking about getting Spain out of NATO. My question is, what about Turkey? Speaking of Cenk and the Young Turks, I mean, I would like to get Spain out of NATO, but I think Turkey should go first. Like, what is Turkey doing in NATO?
I agree, and I also question it because if I recall, Iran shot missiles at Turkey. So NATO, in my opinion, not only has been pieces of shit not backing up Trump or anything that's going on in Iran, but literally a NATO country was fired upon.
Yes.
I thought the NATO contract was that if a NATO country got fired upon, NATO is at war with the people who did it. But no, I guess that Iran doesn't count for some reason.
I don't know. I think it has to be invoked by the victim country. So maybe Erdogan did not fill out the paperwork and mail it in. Got to be postmarked by December 31st, as you well aware.
That could be.
He may not have filed the Article 5 paperwork.
All right. Well, I'm just pointing out something that it stood out to me. But yes, they threatened to also review the UK.
Oh, the Falklands. That's great. He's going to deny them the Falklands. Boy, they thought this over, didn't they, Hunley?
Well, if I recall, the Falkland Islands dispute was with Argentina, and
Yes.
don't we have a friend in Argentina now?
Malay, of course.
So
he's Trump
why
Jr.
not give it to your friend? Hey, buddy Malay,
You know what?
would you like to own those Falklands again?
Wow, don't cry for me, Argentina. Wow, guess who won, Bob? You've won the Falkland Islands, Billy. Come on down.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
What a gift from Trump to Malay.
That would be
Or the British will have a meltdown over this, Eric.
As a matter of fact, I think Malay was there for his inauguration or very soon.
Oh, yeah. The British will have a freaking meltdown.
That was the first time they won, last time they won anything.
Ask the British followers on the show, will the British tolerate us taking the Falklands away from them and giving them back to Argentina? Let's ask them as followers of the show, because there are a bunch of them.
Oh, there are. Yeah. I want them to come here.
I'm curious as to what their answer would be to that. What are the British going to do? Have a tea party? They're going to dump their tea in the Boston Harbor? What are they going to do to us? They've already denied us landing rights. They've already blocked our bases. They've already arrested people for using Elon Musk's platform. What are they going to do to us next, Eric?
I agree.
But they're America's greatest ally, and Israel is a Death Star enemy of the United States. But it's the British who are our greatest ally.
Yep.
At least I'm being told that by the America First lobbying organization.
Yeah, I've been hearing that all the time. And all right, well, and speaking of other people, I saw this today, and this is just getting into the soap opera, but I found it very interesting. Apparently, Tucker Carlson, Tucker Carlson is an heir to the Swanson fortune,
right?
But apparently, he's an adopted heir, and the real blood relative, his sister, has been cut off by him and his brother.
What?
For check this out. $22,414 a month. So we're talking Tucker here with, like many $1 million contracts with Fox, everything else, quibbling he and his brother and taking away $2,400 a month from the biological child of his stepmother, his late stepmother, Dr. Roberta Bohunt. And,
keep in mind, the stepmother didn't come up with the frozen train car creation of Swanson frozen dinners. It was the husband that she had who was the original Swanson.
Okay, but at least it was his child.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Cut out.
Absolutely. I mean, the money came from the idea, historically, for America's Untold Stories, of a guy freezing a train car and putting food in a train car. Think how simplistically wonderful that is as an American industrial idea. The train car becomes a rolling refrigerator. You put frozen food in it. You call them Swanson TV dinners, and you ship them to the next state. That is worth billions and billions of dollars because it's American ingenuity.
And by the way, it wasn't even him that came up with it. It was Claude Birdseye out of Canada.
His arch nemesis.
I mean, that's who came up with that. So,
yeah.
But I love the show too, by the way. And I wanted to point something else out. Those of you who have seen the interview with Tucker and Uncle Buck, or his brother Buckley, might have been confused too. But Buckley is ironically the younger brother. But if you look at them, his brother looks like he could be his father. He's had some rough.
How about that they're both named Buckley? I find that really odd. My father's name was Seymour. If my brother's name was Seymour also, there would be chaos within the family.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it is
where the brother and the son have the same name, and not the father and son, the brother and son. Is it possible that Buckley is really the father of Buckley Jr., Eric?
I don't know, but by the way,
I want you to think about that.
It's Clarence Birdseye, I guess, not Claude. I think I said Claude Birdseye, but I guess.
I didn't even hear you. I heard you say Birdseye, which was most important. Yeah, when you go before the Autistic Committee of Justice that we have here at the show, it's really helpful.
Hey, I don't mind. I mean, if I'm wrong, point it
No,
out.
I know. No,
I much prefer.
it's just
people
startling how
correcting
quickly
me.
the autistic respond.
But you know what? I would prefer being corrected than walking around saying something wrong continuously.
Right.
And being
Yeah,
dumb.
I
So.
didn't hear you.
But anyway, yes, birds. I came up with that. I thought that story was kind of interesting. I'm like, you're quibbling over that amount?
Well, look,
Wow.
who knows what's going on over there? We don't know about his money. The fact that the IRS and Trump can't expose this guy, it didn't stop Nixon, and it didn't stop a guy. There was a guy who, this is really weird. I didn't even know this. This is a great little side story. There was a guy, I forget the guy's name. I could look it up later. He was the first father on Seinfeld. And it turns out that that particular guy had been blacklisted and they wanted to give him a job. And I thought, well, what was he, during the McCarthy era or something? No, he was blacklisted and deep attacked by the IRS investigators for decades in 1965 by LBJ because he was the star playing LBJ on Broadway in McBird, the play that mocked him. So everybody points out Nixon going after his enemies. Here was LBJ using the entire weight, and the guy was blacklisted. He didn't work until he got a job on Seinfeld, and then he lost the job because they didn't like him as the dad.
Wow.
Yeah, I just stumbled into that by accident. I just thought I'd tell our fans because of LBJ that Nixon was not alone in this particular IRS revenge strategy.
All right. I've got this story, which is cringeworthy, unfortunately, but it's my state, and I guess I have to acknowledge it. Not completely surprisingly, Spanberger prevailed in her attempt to redistrict and screw over Virginia. I was happy to see that, shockingly, I'm happy for a court for once, but the courts have stopped her at the pass right now, and I don't know if it'll be true or not, but a lot of people are saying that the Supreme Court may well rule the whole thing down, and it might even be 7-0 if they do, which would be a blessing to hopefully, not embarrass the people. But yes, I agree with this. This opinion piece or editorial is talking about how the Virginian, James Madison, worried that mere parchment barriers or constitutions wouldn't be enough to stop an overbearing majority from seeking power and stripping minorities of their voices and rights. And oh Lord, Joe, look at that. And we have
what is she giving the finger to something? Oh no, she's just counting on the
she's just happy. That's the thing. Oh God, in a weird way, I respect the fact that she doesn't hide the ball. It's so sickening, but she just laughs. They're like, you're the most unpopular governor in the 21st century. She's like,
oh, well, she doesn't care about it. She could care less.
And just laughing her ass off.
I mean, she's on a mission. She's a CIA person who has taken over a particular entire state. Yes. She will be termed out, and other people will take over for that. And they're going to do this around the country.
Yeah.
They probably like it better that you get termed out so you can end your job and move on to something else.
Yeah. Well, and
that's not get stuck running a thing administratively, Eric.
Right. So she's actually, I said when she got elected, I said she's copying the Trump playbook.
Yeah.
Because we had blistering executive orders day one, boom, 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 like crazy. At day one, literally one of them was about the election machines that you can't, get hand counts and things. So it is.
Well, your only saving grace is she's going to be termed out.
Yeah, but she's leaving behind her replacement, who could be like, oh, everybody's so happy to get rid of Lori Lightfoot, including me. And then the guy who came in, it's worse.
Well, that's on the people of Virginia, whether they're going to vote for another CIA agent. How many CIA guys do they have to come run the state?
Quite a few. Considering Langley, Virginia is here.
It was a rhetorical question, but the reality of it is they're going to shoot their whole load running CIA candidates until they make legislation that I've recommended for 20 years, banning CIA and intelligence operatives from running for office.
Yeah, I agree. Now, this is a weird story, and I'll be shifting to super chats, but this one. Okay, we had Rex Heuermann, the Gilgo Beach. I don't know why I always want to say it wrong.
Gilgo.
But Gilgo Beach.
Yeah.
His ex-wife apparently sleeps in the basement where he dismembered his victims.
Let me tell you something. How could the wife not know this went on for so long? It's just a crazy, dark, twisted, sick couple, you know.
Yeah. It does make me question some, things about her. Like, why? Most people would be like, holy shit, we discovered it, and they're selling the house as soon as they could, or getting the hell out of there. Not sleeping in the basement where it happened.
Maybe it's a good school district.
Oh, there you go. I think the kids are adults, but thank you very much.
Maybe it's got parks around it that are quite nice.
All right. Well, you know what is quite nice are
What?
super chats, and let's jump on those for a while. We got
Okay,
Anthony
right.
from Australia who's going to surprise us.
What?
Maybe he
Got
heard
a
somebody
plot
criticizing
twist.
last week.
Plot twist.
It is a plot twist. And he said, Sonny's fault, obviously.
Who's Sonny?
I don't know.
Sonny at the Causeway on Jones Beach? Sonny Corleone?
I don't know.
Jimmy Kahn? Which Sonny are you talking about?
I don't know. Let me see. Primus. Hey, Mark, you got to do history on the SPLC.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
I will be talking to Ken Silva soon and going into that. Jesse Trentadue, who I've covered, has been suing them literally for decades on this stuff. Carl Burkhalter.
Melted.
The Lee statue that caused Charlottesville was melted. SPLC funds should have been used to replace it.
That's a good idea. Or some of it. I mean, how much could a statue cost?
I don't know.
Get another General Lee statue there. At least get the car there, the General Lee from Dukes of Hazzard. I think that would
be nice.
Yeah, I think Kenny Wayne Shepherd has one. He lives in Malibu at where
he hasn't repainted it, I hope.
No, not at all. In fact, the last time I saw it, it was in mint condition.
Good.
I mean, there's a couple of them floating around, but Kenny Wayne has one.
So many have been repainted.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying because they went around like smashing them.
Dude, he's driving it around Hollywood. So I tribute to Kenny Wayne.
He's got balls. I like that.
He's got balls of steel.
Well, isn't he tied with Mel Gibson?
Yeah, he married his daughter.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Zandinga. Preach, Mark. We're going down with a ship. Nobody is perfect, and Trump might make mistakes, but stay the course.
Yeah, stay the course. I mean, we're going down with the ship. I think we're going up with the ship, but the thing is to stay the course. Have some goddamn patience, please. I mean, I know your gas prices went up. They were $5.25 the entire Biden era. You know, you don't understand, Mark. I paid $3.95 yesterday in Decatur, Alabama. Okay, there's a price to pay for cleaning up the entire Middle East in 60 days. For the love of God, look at the damage you're doing to the Chinese communists. The Chinese communists created this terror network through Iran. They built this machine. The Soviets started it, with the PLO going all the way back as part of the Cold War. When the Soviet Empire collapsed, the Chinese moved into Iran and began to pick up the pace and use it as a proxy against the West. That's where this whole thing with the Chinese and Iran came together. We are doing this in the face of the Chinese. We are rubbing their noses in it. And if you can't support that, I don't know what kind of an American you are at this point. It would baffle me.
Trump has a meeting with Xi Jinping in May.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of this is a countdown for that meeting.
Oh, yeah. That's right. And he's going to
so when he rides, like, how's it going for you now?
He's going to bring aerial photos. You're going to, hey, take a look at this. This is terrible. Look how bad this looks. Have you seen this one?
Oh, this is amazing. You look at how this.
Look at the damage they did.
Hold
here.
the phone,
This is crazy. No, he's going to bring like black and white ones, like the Cuban Missile Crisis, and put them up on poster board.
Absolutely. Dr. Evil, trust the orange man.
I agree. I do. And in these military things, I do. Maybe I'm crazy, but this area with the Pentagon right now, I trust this guy. I don't trust him with weed.
Or hiring practices always.
I don't trust him with blonde lobbyists or CEOs, but with this, I do.
I also don't trust him for keeping Congress together since he likes to
Wait,
appoint
there
people.
was some yellow one that just went
I know,
by.
but I wanted to let that
Oh,
flow
okay.
out. I try to bring up
All right.
one so they get their time.
Sorry.
Diffuse Tractor Guy said, "Amen, Eric and Mark." And Mark, thanks for the Seinfeld deep dive. I had no idea he was so neurotic. LOL. And George Wallace, wow.
It's all there for you to look at, my friends. It's all there.
William Radcliffe. Don't the greater the value, the more property tax they pay? What an idiot.
Of course, it's an idiot.
Yes.
Of course. Like, what's it to you? That's what you want. You want, who cares if the guy's living in that apartment? Who gives a shit where he's living?
Yeah, it's about
he may have
resources. He's paying property tax and
Right.
using nothing.
Right. No, but let's say he's got 6 places around the world and wherever he stays. Who cares? What do you care where he's staying on a given night? Right.
Right.
Now you've got income tax coming into the city from this guy's place. Right. Well,
Absolutely.
now you're forcing the guy to pull up stakes and say, look, I can't work with this guy. I got to get out of here.
Right. And you're devaluing the property. So the property tax will go down too, because
Right.
he'll have to dump it as a fire sale, probably out of principle.
Yeah.
So again, if he doesn't stay there, he's not calling the police. He's not calling the fire department.
Yeah,
he's
that's
using
true,
no
too.
resource. His kids aren't in the school.
That's true.
If you think about it, it's just property tax going in your pocket.
Your pocket. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Ron Cole with $5. Thank you very much. Aviate Picks, Christopher Ebden is gifted 10 America's Untold Stories memberships, which we always appreciate. Vexing Sobraque. If you're inside trader to be elected to Congress first. Okay.
If you're an
an inside trader, be elected to Congress first. Yes. Always beneficial for sure. Or you could get elected and then become an inside trader. That's the normal path.
Right.
KDog 4703. Hope this helps. I know you guys have to outwork your pay rate.
No kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Thank you. Absolutely. Got a couple of Rumble rants I'll slide in while we're talking here.
We never see those Rumble rants, right?
I can't pull them up on here because just the way StreamYard does it.
Oh, gotcha. Right. Okay.
Flea Speech says, could an AI comedian be funny?
Well, it depends what you put into the hopper. In theory, anything could work.
And
But what if you poured in the jokes of the 10 greatest comics into a made-up AI comic?
I agree. And by the way, great. There was a couple rants in there. One of them I know was from Biltong.
Okay.
I can't see it because I refreshed the Rumble window and it's gone. So just to let everybody know, if you want to get some good meat that is using South African processes, it's called Biltong, and they're at biltongusa.com, and that's BILTONG USA.com, and use the code AUS, and there's a discount for that. I think it's 10%, but biltongusa.com with the discount code. Biltong USA also asked about Iran, and I think we actually were covering that already.
Okay.
William Ratcliffe said, Mr. Conspiracy Theorist.
Regarding what particular thing?
Yeah, I
try to base it on factual information, but
yeah, as a matter of fact, we get heat because
we're not conspiratorial enough.
We
don't have enough conspiracies.
Right. If we were to follow the proper path of, say, the mighty Ian Carroll or somebody, we would have to say that Thomas Crooks did not shoot at Donald Trump, that it was actually a water tower shot, or the acoustic metrics of his say is coming from the building. We'd have to say that Tyler Robinson did not, in fact, shoot, Charlie Kirk, even though there's so much evidence is staggering. We'd have to say that absolutely James Earl Ray was nowhere near MLK.
I would also add that if this guy didn't, and I said this last night to somebody, if this guy did not shoot Charlie Kirk, somebody else would have.
Oh yeah,
that's how toxic he was to the left. So this guy did it, but I believe that it would have happened further down the road that particular year anyway.
No, I think you were witnessing stochastic terrorism played out.
Yeah.
Where they were sending the narrative about Charlie Kirk that he hated, specifically trans, by the way.
Yeah.
Where there's a whole culture there. And I know people, you might be shocked, but there actually have been other shooters who are trans.
Not if you look at Wikipedia.
I
look
know
at Wikipedia. They deny it. They deny it.
I know.
I was shocked that they were denying it. That was more shocking to me than the actual numbers who did do it. Wikipedia denies that it even exists.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What a coincidence. And then you go look and go, what does the average editor at Wikipedia look like? Oh,
they look like them. Oh my. Oh my.
I see.
Oh my.
Zemet, 1969, a Vatican meeting.
Oh, interesting. That's conspiratorial.
I would never ever say that.
That's a sketchy one. I mean, I don't know. Why would they meet with the Vatican? Although Obama's henchmen met with the Vatican. So I didn't see that coming with Axelrod, a Jewish fellow from Chicago who used to be an ink-stained wretch of a journalist working for, I think, the Tribune or the other paper. Or I take that back. He might have worked for the Chicago Reader, Axelrod. I forgot what paper he worked for.
Could be. Goose Toots one, longtime listener, first time caller. Well, thank you.
You're on the air. Go ahead.
And you're on the board.
Can you turn off your television, please? Can you turn off your radio?
Turn off the radio. Turn it down. Oh my God. William Radcliffe. Exactly, Eric. Student loans encourage tuition price hike.
Student loans themselves?
Yeah, because they know that they're going to get X amount, so they just keep jacking it up. They're like, oh, well, the students are just going to get a loan to cover the difference. So if they knew that the majority of students had to come up with it out of pocket, so the parents had to pay for it, be more competitive. They would be priced closer to community college. And if you look at community college rates, they're actually pretty reasonable. And I would encourage anybody and everybody, if you can, have your kids go to community college for 2 years.
That's what's happening now. That's actually the new thing in vogue among the hipsters. I don't know about the regular people, but hipster kids are now going to community college and skipping the 4-year traditional schools, right? For financial reasons.
Well, I'll never forget. And this was in the 80s. I was 16 years old, and a classmate I was with, he was like, "Yeah, well, I'm out of here." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because I was a sophomore in high school. And he said, "Yeah, I'm leaving." Well, he quit high school, got his GED over the summer, went to a community college. He had his BA by the time he was 20 and a master's degree at 22 by shortcutting the whole system. And
as a guy on a mission, Eric, right?
Yeah, but it was actually brilliant because I was like, I was of the mindset everybody said, if you drop out of high school, you're going to dig ditches. Well, he showed that, no, there is another path. And by the way, you know how to make a high school diploma irrelevant? Get an associate's degree. Nobody cares about your high school degree. If you have a bachelor's or an associate's degree, then it doesn't even matter. William Radcliffe said, okay, I already got that. Sorry.
That one,
James Bundy gifted 5 America's Untold Stories memberships. Thank you so much. David Ball, 67, said, "You guys always deliver."
I think this guy's in Australia, down under Ball, whatever's going on down there with the Chinese. We're doing this for Australia too, who's has to go up against the Chinese Communist Party. This situation in Iran is going to set them back. Their entire plan of world domination is going to have to be rethought.
Definitely some far-reaching effects here. William Radcliffe said Budweiser came up with the reefer rail cars. Okay. And I don't think he's talking about
refrigerated. No, I think he's talking about the reefer.
I know, but I was going to say he's spelling it reefer as in cannabis. So let's see. Silent J said, "I think after the 4th of July, our president will release so much explosive information about his enemies that it will make the atom bomb look like a firecracker." Just an opinion.
I think the rumors circulating is that it's going to be like at the end of the fireworks display when they shoot off all of the rockets and go crazy. That might happen between July and the end of October.
Could be.
Politically, I'm talking about political arrests and scandals.
That could be. Wellesley 72, donation for autistic cure. Okay. 01010101. That's the translation, so they will understand. By the way, I do want to put it out there. A lot of people get upset at it. We are saying that with love. Mark calls me autistic half the damn time.
Well, I think you admitted it at one point.
Well, I feel like I might be partially spectrumy, but I don't really think so. But anyway, whatever. The point is, we're not attacking.
You know, somebody said they were on the spectrum yesterday. Some celebrity, and then took it back. Was it Russell Brand?
Oh, well, Russell Brand is out there.
What is going on with Russell Brand, in your humble opinion?
Some really bad advice, because he's going around talking about how
are they?
Yes, I was with a 16-year-old. The age of consent is much lower in England, and it's like, I don't think you're helping your case at all there, buddy.
Well, his case is in England. I mean, he has stated his case, and the age of consent is 16, and the girl in question was 16. I don't know, you know.
Right, but and I'm not going to get into it. Just read the charges she put against him, and it wasn't, we were in bed together. He was 30 and I was 16. There's much more to the exchange that they had, or
they said that about Julian Assange as well.
All right, well, I mean,
this is
his going around saying yeah I slept with. There's just not helpful, in my opinion.
I think it's part of his plea deal. I think that's part of his deal, is to go around and say this and then work for MI6. I don't think it's a question of helpful. I don't think legally talking about it on a show is going to change the legal thing. I think it's part of his arrangement with MI6.
Oh, we'll find out. Anyway, Charlie FLA, the SPLC also helped increase our homeless populations by pushing to close psychiatric facilities in the 70s and 80s.
Wow.
I ran a 150-bed state facility late 70s to early 80s and had to deal with the SPLC.
Wow, that's fascinating.
That is, I don't think that they're alone, though. That I think that the closing of the state institutions is something shameful for both the left and the right, because the right was like, yeah, I don't want to pay for it. And the left is like, everybody should be free.
Well, I don't know what this is about. I mean, this is, what is their relationship to mental institutions? I don't understand this whole thing.
Well, probably in Alabama, I'm guessing.
I don't know. Again, you're reading into it. I don't know what the relationship is.
I'm not reading into it. I'm just saying overall, because they closed everywhere, not just.
Right. So why are you saying Alabama? What is their relationship to psychiatric institutions?
I don't know. We'll get back.
Even do I.
I do know. I do know about the basic element, though.
No, we both know that. But what about this? We both know that. But what is the connection? Maybe this guy will come back and tell us the secret connection between the Southern Poverty Law Center and did they sue them into?
I'm just smart. Here we go.
Okay.
Wyatt Stickney in Alabama. I said it was probably an Alabama place. So
right, but is it a lawsuit by the Southern Poverty Law Center for some reason that shut them down, is what I'm guessing. And what would be the grounds of the Southern Poverty Law Center suing? It would take the onus off of Reagan if this is true.
Right. Well, I have a feeling, and yes, a lawsuit he's saying, and somebody else is saying, and this would make sense too, they went on a civil rights spree to close asylums. I'm sure
were they filled with black people? They were filled with black people?
Doubt it. They probably were like,
okay.
There was probably an outsized representation of minorities or something, which is a standard argument.
Okay.
And it went on for decades, they're saying.
Okay. We need more. It went on for decades. Oh, the plot thickens here, Hunley. I had no idea about this.
Anyway, and we're paying for it to this day. A lot of the homeless problem is from them being shut down. A lot of people that won't take medication or they're on that.
Well, those people are long dead. That was 50 years ago. So
no, but the current people could be getting help if the institutions weren't shut down.
ACLU too, right?
ACLU, yes.
Okay, all right.
A lot of people, I think, share blame.
Okay.
Silent J, 1966. Hey, Mark, what do you think the soup Nazi would say to China today?
I don't know. This no soup for you? I mean,
Yes, isn't that all he says? I don't know.
I know the guy, Larry Thomas. He's not like that guy in real life, but
Well,
a great
that's why
character.
it's called acting, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, as a matter of fact, was it the?
That's why it's called acting.
Yes.
No, that's funny. That's obvious, but funny.
In Game of Thrones, the kid who played Joffrey, who was like the young king, just a nasty character, literally quit acting for a couple of years. He was like, I can't do it, because he couldn't find any work. He couldn't do anything. He was so locked into this part.
Yeah.
People wanted to shoot him on sight. He almost needed protection.
That happens. That does happen.
Well, as a matter of fact, what was it? There was a problem with some of the reenactors for like unsolved mysteries and stuff.
They went after them too?
Well,
really?
No, because they were like having to put a thing up. This is a reenactment, not the real person, because they were talking about an actual criminal who was out there, America's Most Wanted, or whatever.
Some of the reenactors look like the actual criminals. They cast it really close to make them look like the guys.
Including, by the way, Matthew McConaughey, who he was in an Unsolved Mysteries back in the day, which is kind of funny.
Well, he looks like a criminal.
I mean, he
looks like he could play a criminal. Yeah.
Edward McLaughlin with $50. Thank you so much. I'm okay with the gas prices. I just drive my Bentley less.
Yeah, thank you, Edward, for that. I mean, I agree. I mean, you could lay back for a couple of weeks. I mean, for the love of God. Don't prove that you're the most selfish person in the country. Let us do this and get it over with. So for your grandchildren, for Christ's sakes, have you no love for your own grandchildren, or is it just you this week trying to get over to Costco?
That's true. That's true. Who was it? We actually have a user in Rumble who was the soup Nazi as a username, who's going,
Oh, I see.
All right. Big Bill 767 said, great show. New York City is headed to be the new Detroit. That's what I was saying. Detroit once had the highest per cap income in the 1950s, but after just a few decades of dim rule, they now hover at 34,000, far less than the national average of 68,000. Yeah, it's like half.
I'm gonna say that it's the new Mississippi, as opposed to Detroit.
Well, Mississippi was never that large, though. So
no, I'm talking about the income levels. The median household income is going to reach Mississippi levels.
Oh, it might. Yeah.
Mathematically, that number.
Okay. Sorry. Anyway, police speech said, has mental illness increased since the 1960s?
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah, if you mix,
but I don't
mix
know
in
percentage versus population. I mean, obviously there's more people because there's just more people. But I don't know.
No, but drug addiction is classified as a mental illness. So the drug addiction did not exist at the levels back then that it does now. So just numerically adding on drug addicts, of course, it's much more now.
Okay. Well, there you go. King and Bilton said, I asked earlier, this is the one that I didn't see. Did any of you hear about NATO giving Iran intel against the U.S., possibly in trade for better oil prices once everything is over? The U.S. needs to leave NATO ASAP. I did not hear about that.
Neither did I,
Russia
because
doing it.
The intel doesn't matter. It's about train loads of missiles and weapons. That, in other words, telling them that where we are, it's obvious where we are. There's no intel that's going to save them. The only thing that's going to prolong their existence is actual weapons and restocking their missile count. When I heard intelligence a number of weeks ago, I just thought, well, that's not going to help. There we are. There's the USS Gerald Ford sitting out there. in other words, we don't have troops on the ground, Eric. We don't have,
sure.
things in motion. The intelligence is minimal in terms of help. What really helps is those train loads of missiles coming from China. That's a tangible, actual thing that needs to be turned off or destroyed.
Yeah, I agree. Silent J 1966 said, "Hey Mark, I enjoyed your show about Jerry Seinfeld, but I think he might be gay, allegedly."
Not that
LOL.
there's anything wrong with that, so keep that in mind.
I always love that follow-up. And then King Bilton said, "I agree, Mark, but it shows that we should get out of NATO." There.
Oh yeah,
we agree.
We agree. I mean, kicking out Spain
Congress,
might be a great piece of shock therapy for them. To sever one of the limbs might be fun and also terrifying to them to have one of them cut out, whether it's Turkey, Spain, before you chop off the whole thing, cut off the one of the arms.
Yeah, well, we're cut off Greece too, by the way.
Oh, Greece, yeah.
Because they're a weak one.
Although I like going to the Greek islands,
wait,
so
is
don't
Greece
do that.
NATO or just EU? They might not be NATO.
Greece's not in NATO. Turkey is.
Sorry. Which blows my mind still.
It should be the reverse. I know.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. All right. Well, on that note, we are going to head over to locals where we still have freedom of speech, allegedly.
Now, or Fleetum. Isn't the guy's name Fleetum?
Who?
On Rumble? There's one of his handles is
Flea Speech.
Oh, Flea Speech. Yeah.
We do have Flea Speech there. Yes, absolutely. But we're going to head over there, and I hope to see you. Unstructured.locals.com. It's free to become a member, but if you want to support us further, we definitely appreciate it, and we'll see you momentarily.
Okay, thank you.